Hey, welcome back to the 15th Club podcast. Lobeck, we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah,
It was an eventful week. You had Jordan DQ, Tiger WD, Willy Z's back, you Monday in the Monday queue.
that was a couple
So,
weeks ago.
but hey, I mean, not for nothing. We were almost on TV a week ago.
True.
So, off with Tiger launching Sunday Red, and then us seeing it for one day on.
Yeah, unfortunately, with Tiger nowadays, it's like, will he play 4 days?
Yeah.
If he makes the cut, is he healthy enough to play 4 days? The good news is that I think it sounds like it was just a sickness. It wasn't like a back issue. It wasn't like a leg issue. So that's kind of comforting.
Yeah.
But in Tiger Woods fashion, some level of reasoning for not playing in a full tournament again.
Just general disappointment where he's there. I mean, it's Riviera, so it's his tournament now. The whole history of him, playing there as an amateur back in the day. And then, Friday morning, just all the energy's out because the host and Tiger is not going to play.
Yeah, and honestly, like since he won in 2019 at the Masters, like this is kind of how his golf has been lately. It's like it's cool to see him play, but deep down we know it's like we're not going to see him compete
it's really
as much.
Almost as they're kind of rolling out, not parading him around, but like, hey, it's nice to see Tiger out here.
Yeah,
and that's kind of that. Maybe he'll show you a shot or two of what it used to be like.
Yeah, and another example of Tiger Woods is the actual needle.
He is the needle.
Right? Like, because the moment that he WDs and leaves the tournament, like, it kind of like the tournament vibes kind of went down a little bit. And it's like, all right, it's at Riv, but, Tiger's not there anymore. So hopefully this sickness is something that isn't very serious because the Players is coming up. Obviously, the Masters is in a couple months. So,
I wonder if they know with him, the plan was made maybe once a month he would play.
Yeah, played like the major events like Riv, the Players, Augusta, the PGA, the U.S. Open. Like he really only has a finite schedule.
I wonder if he'll squeeze one in because there's no wear and tear in his body physically from the walk and swinging. Like,
true.
Will we see him maybe at Bay Hill? Maybe the plays those might be too close to each other, but that would be cool to see him back at.
Yeah. Something that I've always said though is like when he's on a finite schedule, he's it's very obvious because of his body. He's only playing a certain amount of tournaments a year.
Yeah.
He seems to choose the hardest tournaments to play in all the time. Like, and I understand like they're bigger.
Major makes sense.
It gives him a better chance to warm up to the majors and get ready for them.
Yeah.
But he always seems to choose the courses that are the hardest to play.
Yeah.
So it's tougher for him to kind of get in a groove and kind of get his game going in the right direction towards the majors. Obviously, it doesn't really matter when he goes to Augusta because he knows that course so well. But I've always been curious, like, why not show up at Pebble or at Mexico this next week and like go out and make 25 birdies in 72 holes just to kind of get that momentum and that confidence up. But then again, he's won 82 times in 15 majors. So I think he has a solid idea on what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough. With him not being there again, that's always a bummer because you just want to more for, I don't know if it's for his sake or maybe it's selfishly like for our sake. You just want him to be able to play 72 holes and it be respectable.
Yeah.
And I think 2018, 2019 was a glimpse of that. And he also peaked because he almost won 3 majors and that whole span was amazing.
Very much peaked.
Like, had it not been for the foot injury and the accident, I wonder if we would have got that where he may have played 8 to 10 events, 4 majors and 4 outside. And it's like, okay, like he's competing and, we'll never know. But to see him now where it's very much, we outside the majors, if he doesn't get hurt or anything, you might see him 2 to 4 more times.
Yeah, which I think honestly is okay.
Yeah,
for everything that he's gone through, it's like, you know what? If he only has the strength to play 4 to 6 tournaments a year, like we at least get to see him 4 to 6 times a year.
Yeah, I saw it on socials, and it's a good point. The golf media landscape needs to not rely on him to be the needle anymore.
Correct.
Because you saw it this week with Riv. When he left, it was kind of like, eh. And then speaking of needle, Jordan Spieth for a time was potentially going to be the next up and coming during his run, and then he gets DQ'd for signing signing too low of a score, and then
Have you ever signed the wrong scorecard?
I never left the table without for sure.
Yeah, I've never
no, I've never been DQ'd for.
I've never had the scenario that happened to Spieth.
I think I may have signed for a higher score.
I've seen so when I was in high school, we were playing a tournament in Prescott, and a kid. It was like classic example of like all the scores were correct, but the kid keeping score put the 9-hole total on hole 9 instead of the total, and he signed for it. So instead of shooting like 33, he shot like 67 because he made a 33 on the 9th hole, which is just there's a lot of there's been a ton of debate like should you get DQ'd for signing for a lower scorecard because there's shot link, there are thousands and thousands of people watching. There's a person in each group on tour dedicated to making sure each score is correct so that the app updates, people like the leaderboard updates correctly, and yet we're still relying on players to keep each other's score, check hole by hole, which kind of adds to the history of the game, right? A very much of a game of integrity. So it kind of makes sense with the history of golf, but with all the technology we have and how advanced we are in technology, do you feel like the rule needs to change? At least the extreme of being DQ'd from the tournament?
That's such a tough one because part of me instantly goes, yeah, that's how it's always been.
Right.
So just leave it. But I get the point where it's like you have all this technology that's such a harsh penalty, like give them a break or give them a penalty and move on. So I get it, but I don't know. Like I think with that being said, there's so much technology and so many other people are tracking it. How can the one individual who's in charge of it get it wrong?
Right.
Still,
that's the thing. It's like bottom line, it takes 30 seconds to go hole by hole just to make sure it's correct.
Yeah.
Right. And there's been, I guarantee it happens like once a day on tour where someone's like, I actually made a 3 instead of a 4 or 4 instead of a 3. Like there are those changes that get made to a scorecard pretty consistently. It's just the 30 seconds of making sure it's correct.
Yeah.
Maybe disqualification's a bit extreme, right? Because these guys are, their livelihoods are at stake, and the money they make obviously plays a part in their performances. But like,
you go devil's advocate with that. If all that's really important, then you better take those 30 seconds to get it right.
Correct. So you're playing for millions of dollars. Like then 30 seconds to check the scorecard. Like I saw a lot of people trying to defend Spieth and being like, the rule's too extreme. It's like, I love Jordan. It takes 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I had a 4 on the hole. Okay, perfect. Change it. Done.
And I mean, if anything, I don't know if you don't change the rule, but within the tour, because they have the capabilities, you have, right, I'm Jordan Spieth, so I have my score. You're the guy keeping track. You have the score for me. Mm-hmm. But then maybe the tour is a third party and says, here's what we had.
Correct.
And you go, okay, well, we're going to audit each other, and then we're going to audit you, because you would think, well, maybe the tour would be the most accurate, but what if they're not? Like, yeah. I mean, it's like refs in football. They miss stuff. What if they miss something?
Totally.
I mean, we've both, volunteered for the Phoenix Open and been the standing bearer. And there's someone walking along, the lady or the man's like keeping track of shots. And I've been in situations where, I missed it. What happened?
Right.
And all of a sudden they're in charge. What if they got it wrong? And then they say it was a higher score, and Jordan said it's a lower score. And then who do you trust? Mm-hmm. You're supposed to trust the player. So I think it could get dicey. I don't know. I think that's the most appropriate answer. I don't know, because DQ is harsh.
It's a harsh penalty, but at the same time,
never make that mistake again.
That's correct.
Would think.
You would hope so.
So there's that underlying philosophy of you just have to be accountable. It's very harsh, but I mean, that'll never happen to him again. Like, I'm sure Justin Johnson maybe checks if it's a bunker after what happened to him. I don't know, but stuff like that where it's extreme, but you won't forget that kind of thing. So,
true.
Unfortunate. He's playing well. It's just the way she goes sometimes. I mean, it doesn't happen on the mini tours. Like, no one checks us. You could say I made a 7 on the hole, and I said I made a 6.
Right.
Now it's just me and you.
Yeah.
We can sit at the table all day and debate, But the score is not like, oh, well, or the guy at the table is like, no, I believe. He's like, no, you two have to figure it out. Then what? So I could be cheating on the law, but I'm the only one who knows. You're like, I swear you made a 7. I'm like, no, dude, I made 6. And you might be like, I don't care. Fine. Like, I give up. Like, I'm not going to argue with you because I need to get back to my hotel because I got to tee off in the morning. Like, I don't know. You just hope the integrity's in the right place. You hope the guy's being accountable. Mistakes happen, and it just is what it is.
Yep.
So, Will Zalatoris played very well. It was good to see him back in action.
Yeah, it's been a while since he's played.
Yes.
Like he had a very serious back surgery at a very young age, which is unfortunate to see.
Yes.
But I think with us, like obviously with the work we do and being instructors and looking at golf swings and stuff, it wasn't surprising that he had to take a ton of time off with his injury. I will say, putting looks a little better.
Yeah, I think
not as bad as it used to be.
Putter now.
It might be below average. It might still look a little iffy, but it looks better.
Not the wandering and
yeah.
That's so interesting too, because from 20 feet beyond, that putting stroke is just chef's kiss.
Yeah.
But from 5 feet, it's just
No, and honestly, just with reading a ton and doing a ton of research, it's a lot of mental.
Yeah,
right.
It's gotta be.
It's got very much a yippy vibe to it. Right, I don't want to call it the yips because he still makes quite a bit of putts, but when you've got a figure 8 putting stroke from a certain distance, like it's yippy.
Yeah,
so to see him rolling a ton of putts that we're not used to seeing from him, like that's pretty sweet to see. Yeah. So health related, like as long as he stays healthy, he's a heck of a ball striker.
Yes.
If his putting has even improved minimally, he should put himself in a good chance to win a handful of events this year, and especially with his major track record, he should compete.
Yeah, I think he can be comparable to a Scotty Scheffler. Just his putting might be a little bit better, even though they're both not too good. But like Scotty's a hell of a ball striker. Will, that was his calling card before his injury, so now it's just who can putt better. And I think you could see them two duking it out on a consistent basis because, ball striking is what gets you in the door. It's just putting that close to the deal.
Yeah. And I would say with those two, like you're going to see them at the top of the leaderboard very consistently. They're going to be those two players that, like, if you look at the end of the year, they're probably going to be the two players that are like, how did they not win more tournaments?
Yeah.
Because they're not going to be able to close the door. They're always going to keep the rest of the field in it just because of their putting woes.
Yes.
Now, obviously there's a lot of season left. So if either or both of them figure out their putting to an extent, they might go on a run.
Yeah.
But I think if they're in contention, it's going to be something to watch because it's like, what are they going to do? Are they going to miss a short putt? Like Scotty missed like 3 putts inside 4 feet in a row at Scottsdale, and it was kind of the main reason he lost. So it's going to be very exciting to see, like, if they are in contention, how does their putting hold up? Does it look solid? And, how do they finish the tournaments?
100%. Well, speaking of Scottsdale, Monday.
We were close.
You shot 8 under in the pre-qual. Bohum. Had what? You're 10 under total with 2 bogeys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tough. And then go to the Monday qualifier, and Max was out there to caddy. Me and Ian were out there watching, and that was pretty fun to watch.
It was fun. It was a ton of fun. It was probably more fun to play.
Oh yeah, I'd say walk us through even like the practice round 2, the tournament day, what went on, and just everything.
It was a very surreal experience because, like, you and I both, like, we've been playing in the pre-qualifier since high school. Because one, the thought of being 2 rounds away from a tour event is like, holy cow. Like it's there, like the possibility. It's not like it's this unrealistic. You've never got the opportunity to do so. So we've been playing in the pre-qual. We've probably been playing it for 13 years.
Yeah.
Right. At least when we've been living in Arizona.
Yeah.
So the feeling of shooting a low enough score to get through was like sweet.
It's almost like finally.
It was pretty much. It was like I knew I was able to do it.
When you shot in those scores in the past, 66, 65, 64, but it's always been 63 that gets in, or 60. It's always been like one guy or always get cut out.
I've been one off so many times that it's like, okay, when is this actually going to happen?
So it's not like you shot in 72s and finally you got hot. It's
No.
like you've been there.
Yeah.
When am I going to be the number that knocks out the next guy?
Yeah. It was, so getting through the pre-qual was like, okay, sweet. Like that was a really like kind of like a load off the stress of the body. Like, okay, I knew I was capable of doing it, but just seeing it happen and putting it together. Honestly, for me, it was more of me. What's the word? We gotta chop this. It's validating. That's the word. Okay, got it. It was more very validating for me of my golf game at the moment because 3 months ago I couldn't walk because of my back. So it was very validating to know that my golf game was actually in a good spot. I just needed to make sure my body was healthy because like when my body is healthy, my golf game is solid. So it was just very validating to get through. And then, you brought up the practice round. Like I booked my practice round, called the golf course. It's at this nice private country club up in Scottsdale. And the guy was like, do you want to know who you're playing with? I was like, sure. And it was 3 PGA Tour guys. And I was like, okay, this experience is already excellent. Yeah. So just being able to play a practice round with 3 tour guys, one, you get to learn a ton because the 3 guys I played with were super nice. Like James Hahn and Bo Van Pelt, veterans on tour, very, very helpful and like answered a lot of questions I had, which is like they didn't have to. No. Like very easy to like play a practice round, be quiet, do their thing. They're very open and very nice enough to answer a ton of questions. So getting that knowledge was really helpful. But also, honestly, like, yes, they're on tour, so they do everything super well.
You get to watch it firsthand.
You get to watch it. It was very validating for me to know that I kind of belonged there because my games kind of matched with theirs.
You do similar
kind of every hole, like off the tee box, we kind of hit it the same distance. I probably hit it farther than more consistently, but we hit it the same off the tee box. Approach shots, they also hit bad shots, which is cool to see. Like you expect PGA Tour players hit it at the flag every single time, perfect distance. It's like there were a dozen times where their approach shots were way off. And I was like, okay.
I do that too.
I do that. Everybody does that. And then they're very buttoned up around the greens, but that's also the area of my game that I feel most confident in. So it's like, okay, from tee to green, I feel at par with these tour guys.
You do what they do.
Yes. So going into, I actually feel like it helped me going into the Monday playing with these guys because it kind of got the nerves of, okay, I'm playing with these really high-level players out of the way.
Well, and most likely, it's going to be the former tour guys or the guys who, couldn't get in based on status that are going to Monday anyway.
Totally.
So the fact that, you guys hit drivers the same distance and maybe even to the same spots, right? You guys almost like matched shots together. You go, okay, well, I do that. I can chip and putt like them. Okay, I can totally do this.
Totally. And like we showed up Monday and the weather was kind of iffy. The wind was blowing 20, 25 that day. Cool. So I was like, perfect. I like that weather. I love that weather because my golf ball goes that way. Everyone else's goes that way. So honestly, playing other than like the first tee shot was like nerves on nerves, like super nervy, like. But I love that.
But now you're 18 holes away from hitting it. So like, oh my God.
Correct. So it was like, I hit a really bad first tee shot, but ended up like making like a very comfortable par to like calm everything down. And then it was kind of smooth sailing from there. Like bogey free 2 under on the front 9. I was like, okay.
Well, yeah, we were watching and I go, oh my gosh, he's 2 under after 4. And I told Ian, I was like, Ian, I go, you realize he's 10 under in his last 22 holes. He's like, oh my goodness. So I was like, that's a fun stat. If I was like,
that's really cool.
If I was Tiger Tracker, Alex Lobeck is now 10 under in his last 22 holes, and he's actually made 14 birdies in his last 22.
So yeah, like we turned, and I was like,
okay.
I knew I was 2 under. Yeah. I knew for a fact I was gonna have to shoot 7 or 8.
Yeah.
There's tour guys in this event, so I was like, okay. Going into the back 9, I knew I had to be aggressive, but the hard part and kind of debriefing the tournament is like when the tournament is set up with tour pins, right? So everything's 2 or 3 paces off the edge of the greens, and the wind's blowing 20. It's almost impossible to attack those flags and get it really, really close because you have to deal with so much of the wind and the factors that are going into the environment. So I was giving myself a lot of good opportunities for birdie. They just weren't as close as I would have liked them because of what the wind was doing.
Well, and that's what I imagined just on the outside watching with the wind and the pins. So it's either like just on the shelf or just below it. They're really good at that stuff. Is you're either going to have a day with your irons, and that could be the subtle difference, or it's the guy who was making the 15 to 25 footers, which you had all day, and not knowing and not watching the guys who ended up getting in, which one was it?
Right.
They could just have a great ball striking day and they could place it wherever they wanted, or did the putter get hot? And it's like, okay, that was the difference. But
totally,
even then, like, you're a really good ball striker, so I would go. For whatever reason, those guys were able to go at it, or their putters got hot, but it's not anything where I'd go, oh yeah, okay, that's what Lobeck needs to work on.
Yeah, but honestly, like I finished 18 holes. I finished it even.
Yeah.
Right, with I would say one poor hole where I made double bogey.
Yeah.
But other than that, like the rest of my round was like
pretty button.
I hit driver where I wanted to and where I needed to, and I missed it in the right spots. I ball struck the heck out of my round. Like hit pretty much was in control of my irons and wedges all day, but gave myself good looks. And then my short game was probably the best it's ever looked.
It was solid.
And my speed control on the greens was solid. So it's like coming away from the event, it's like
you didn't do anything wrong.
I really didn't do anything that I shouldn't have.
It's like you blew the tournament.
It was also the first time ever being in that spot. So going into it, didn't have expectations of like I'm going to shoot this number. It was like I really wanted to see how my golf game held up under the pressure of like, oh my God, I'm 18 holes away from a tour event. And I was really happy with that. Like when I needed to hit a golf shot, like I hit a golf shot. And there was actual times where like I hit too good of a golf shot. Like I airmailed 2 greens because I just had adrenaline pumping and I was hitting it way better than I actually thought I was. And I was like, okay, for me to be able to hit that golf shot under this pressure, like again, I don't have the opportunity to do that under the same circumstances or consistency, but I can hit those shots that the guys on TV hit. I just don't have the opportunity to do it as much as they do.
Yeah, if someone told you, Lobeck, you're gonna have 10 Mondays in a row, you'd be like, okay, I think I can get into one.
100%.
Because of
100%.
And that's the difference. Like, there's a lot of guys out there who can play, but we have day jobs.
Yeah.
So if someone's like, I got you covered for a month, do what you need to do, and you got 4 Monday qualifiers, I like my chance of you getting into one, or at least being like 5, 6, 7 deep, and maybe you still get beat out. But it's not like you don't belong there.
It's not like I showed up and I bogeyed half the holes and I shot 80 or 85, and I was like, okay, they're at a bunch different level.
Yeah, I just got really hot at a course and comfortable. It's like, no. My game travels.
Correct.
And it's just reps.
Yeah.
I mean, the 2 guys you played with hit it far. They hit it solid.
They had much better swings. They hit it so much farther than I did. And honestly,
I think you're going to stroke of each of them.
Yeah, like I
was 1 under, 1 over, or something like
that.
Yeah,
I feel like my game was much more well-rounded compared to the other 2. But honestly, like moving forward with this, it's like I'm excited for the rest of the year.
Like your takeaway was already like, I need to hit it farther. And you have it in the tank. It was just, I think you being out there, it was more confirming, okay, I do need to hit it farther.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you can't. You just like, no, you've always been really good at like ball control. But okay, I can let it eat.
Yeah, like I have to.
Yeah, now you're starting to find out, well, I can let it eat. It's not strenuous on my body, and I still have pretty good control.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, okay, that changes the gear.
Yep.
And so I think that sets you up really well for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And now I have to go to the gym and catch up behind you now.
Yeah. All in all, it was like, all right, cool. Confirmation, golf game, good spot.
Yeah.
Now it's like I know what areas I can tweak and kind of make sure it's a little more solid. But like rest of the year, it's like this is going to be exciting because it's like
we have the whole year of like, listen, I Monday. I got into a Monday, so I can play. Mm-hmm. So if there's ever doubts of like you walk away shooting a 75 from a tournament, it's like,
oh well.
Like I noticed that when with me, like I was able to get into a Monday a couple years back. Like same thing. Like such a sigh of relief. I've known I could do this, but then when you play, you're like, it's so weird. But you go up another notch, even like in your own head about yourself. You're like, yeah, like I'm Monday. I can do this. Like I can do a Monday, and then for me, and I'm guessing for you, every time you do a pre-qualifier from here on out, it's almost like not house money, but the mentality is, I can do this. I've done it. So like, just go
go play.
Golf.
Yeah, there's no nerves or like stress about I gotta do this to get in. It's like, oh, you just go play.
Yeah,
because you know what it takes.
And again, you go play, good round, you don't get in. You're like, I don't know. I always found it more like like after you finally did it the first time, like okay, like So that's
totally. And I went into the Monday with like no nerve, like no like stress or expectations. Yeah. It wasn't like, oh, I have to perform well or I'm gonna like be disappointed. It's like like I'm here. Yeah. I'm here because I earned it. It's not like it was like here's a spot. It was like I went out and earned the spot. So it's like, okay, belonging there. Yes.
Let's go make something.
Now let's just go play better golf.
Yeah. It was super fun watching. I mean, all of us, the other coaches were like, okay, like you get a little more like juice, like okay, I didn't go practice, like I like.
I know.
Good golf.
There's like a good low level of competition between the four of us now. So it's like we're all working a little bit harder to be able to beat each other, which is really cool.
Like, we want to get ready for another tournament. We all of us completely like, let's go, like just see. So that's exciting. So that was really fun. I enjoyed watching it. For our next swing tip, we're going to go to Coach Lobeck because he's the master wizard, and we're talking about flighting wedges.
When we look at wedges, typically from an average golfer, a junior golfer, people launch it way too high.
Yes.
Right. And it's just the inconsistencies that you have with wedges come from that launch angle. So we need to be able to efficiently get the golf ball to launch a little bit lower so that when it goes into the green, it spins consistently. The way it reacts on the greens is consistent, and you can actually hit the distances that you're trying to hit it pretty much every time you swing the club. So instead of swinging a wedge and it landing and releasing, and then the next time it lands and it spins back, now you know it's going to land, do the exact same thing, and when it launches at a lower trajectory, you're going to be able to control that distance a little easier.
So we're going after more predictability here.
Pretty much, right? When you pull a wedge out of your bag, it's not, ooh, I hope I hit the distance correctly. It's, I know if I make this swing with this club at this launch angle, it's going to go that distance. So now when you get inside those scoring zones, like inside of 100 yards, I can hit the green more consistently. I can maybe even go after some pins a little more confidently, hit it a little closer, and ultimately should lower the scores.
Yeah, these are scoring wedges, so we need to be able to score with them.
Right.
Okay, so walk me through how we need to flight these bad boys.
Okay, so first of all, just swing one. Okay. Trav's going to swing one here at absolute full speed. Okay. So at full speed.
Send it here. Oh, that's something.
Yeah, so for those of you who can't see the camera, his ball almost hit the ceiling right in front of us. It went straight up in the air. And obviously the mat has a little bit to do with that, but that ball launches straight up in the air. So all we're going to focus on right now in this tip is, in order to get the golf ball to launch lower, we're just going to focus strictly on the energy we put into the swing.
Okay.
So like for that swing there, that felt like full gas, as hard as you can hit a wedge.
Yeah.
Right. So hit one at 50% of that.
Okay. So when you say that though, it's going to be full range of motion.
Full range of motion. This swing is going to be a full swing, but the tempo, the energy you put into this swing is going to be about half.
Got
it. Yeah. So immediately off the club face, launches a little bit lower. I mean, the window that golf ball comes out of is going to be completely different. And the moment that thing hit the ground, it one hop and stopped. And that was with a range ball.
Right.
So go face on here for the camera. So really the big thing that this speed, this tempo in a wedge will do is, as Trevino swings the club into impact, the slower you swing, the more the hands stay in front of the club. So that angle that the club comes in at the ball is going to be a little steeper. The loft of the club is going to decrease just a little bit,
right?
But you're going to get that golf club to launch at a more consistent basis. So off the golf ball, it's going to come out a little lower. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you swung as fast as you can, these hands are going to want to release.
Yeah,
now you've added loft to it, and the rate of release is going to change from swing to swing.
Yeah.
So sometimes it may be there, sometimes it may be there, which is why you get that unpredictability.
Yeah, like you're saying, if however quick my arms and hands are firing, that's so much added speed at the bottom, like
Correct.
this, rather than.
And it's unpredictable speed.
Yeah.
So you don't know if my club's going to release too much, if it's going to release a little bit.
Yeah.
So we're really focusing on, can I maintain that shaft angle? Can I keep my hands in front of the club for as long as possible? Because that launch angle is what's going to keep that club down.
Right. Okay, so let's do another one at 50%.
Yep, just 50%.
Bring that flight down.
Oh, those are nice.
Yeah, that was better.
Yeah, that launch.
Also, I mean, like the curvature. I know a wedge is supposed to curve a lot, but when there's a lot of speed, for me personally, it's really easy to throw the hands. And then
it's easy to see that.
Whenever the face is coming in open, coming in shut, that one was just on a line. So it makes me feel more aggressive when I'm in these scoring yardages.
Really easy to see that golf ball curve a ton. So I think my biggest piece of advice and the one thing to focus on is, if you struggle with launching wedges at a consistent basis, consciously pay attention to the speed and the energy you're putting into your swing. And I would play around with, let's swing it at about 50% rate.
Yeah.
Still full range of motion, full swing, but keep that tempo, that energy down to about 50% and just notice what it does to your launch angles.
Love that.
All right, that's the end of this one. Appreciate you guys watching. Before we get finished, we have a golf school coming up in March. It's going to be hosted at Whirlwind in the second week of March, the 13th through the 15th. So you can find a link for the details and the registration in the link. Check it out if you guys are in the area or you guys want to plan a golf trip to Arizona. It would be awesome to have you guys out for 3 days. 3 days, high intensive, elite golf schools, full swing kind of philosophies and everything in between. Make sure to follow us on Spotify or YouTube, and we look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.